Welcome back to NewsWire. Let's check in on the Houston Texans and check in with Cole Thompson. Does such a phenomenal job covering all things Texans on social media, X/Twitter, whatever it is, at Mr. Cole Thompson joins us now. Got to get an updated view on this team, Cole. I know it's been a grind the last couple of years. You started to come out of the storm, I would say, last year with an incredible draft. And now all of a sudden, being in the mix of a playoff team, it's a great place to be.
Yeah, Craig, when you look at the way this roster is constructed, they've kind of gotten that balance of being able to have not only a great rookie class and a very up-and-coming group, but also a ton of veterans that decided to join this offseason, including four-time Pro Bowler Danielle Hunter, who's coming off of a career season in Minnesota, Azeez Al-Shaair that has a great understanding about the style of defense that DeMeco Ryans wants. You also have incredible play in the backfield from Joe Mixon, who is an ideal fit for this style of offense that they want to run underneath Bobby Slowick. And of course, the headliner, Stefon Diggs, who continues to impress every single route in practice. He continues to be that veteran presence for young players like Tank Dell, John Mechie, even Nico Collins. He's being willing and adaptive to work alongside Derek Stingley Jr. and rookie cornerback Kamari Laster. So there is a nice blend of really talented newcomers, but really talented proven players that have already been here. And then also the guys that we expect to see more from. J.Stroud, Will Anderson. I think you throw Tank Dell into that conversation. You're hopeful that you get a healthy Kenyon Green at left guard this year. So the expectations are high, but the morale internally with the team is also extremely high.
Yeah, and I think that's a big change from where they were a couple of years ago. And Cole, a very big surprise, I think, were the Houston Texans last year. So that's kind of where I'll begin, where the expectation level changes in sports. And you know, covering sports as well as I do, that you go from being a sleeper to a favorite, and potentially things could go the other way. Now, I know that the Texans have fortified their roster, as you mentioned, with Hunter and Mixon and Diggs and some other players as well. But going from the team no one's talking about to segments like this can change the expectation level. How are the Texans handling that?
You know, what's funny, Craig, is that when DeMeco Ryans came into the building, he immediately said, we believe we are going to win a playoff game. We believe that we are going to be a division title winner. We believe that we have a roster that's capable of time being one of the best in the AFC. And so that mantra was really the selling point last year for a lot of these players when the going got tough, when they lost some offensive linemen, when some key players in the secondary went down. We have to step up and we have to deliver for our coach because of he believed in the future of this roster well before we even saw a vision. So the expectations aren't changing. The problem is the schedule's a lot harder. You know, when you look at Jacksonville back in 2022, one thing that flies under the radar is they won the division with a fourth-place schedule and a very easy out-of-conference schedule. And so that was kind of the case last year with the Texans. Fourth-place schedule. On top of that, they played the NFC South versus what they will this year with the NFC North. And so they were kind of able to have that understanding and build that relationships of finding that unison of J.Stroud, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, against teams that really weren't going to give them a threat. That's not going to be the case in 2024. They got matchups against everyone in the AFC East. They have matchups against everybody in the NFC North. They have a first place schedule where they'll play 3 games over 11 days from Miami to Kansas City to then playing Baltimore on Christmas Day on Netflix for some reason. But that's the level of competition that you're going up against. So not only are people not sleeping on you, but you can't sleep on anybody else, because all it takes is one bad performance after a very, what I would say, lackluster start to the season that will allow you to crumble down the hill and eventually find yourself in a similar situation to where Jacksonville went last year.
Yeah, no, and that's what we're watching for. I'm glad you gave that answer, because that sounds exactly what some people could be anticipating this year. And I do want to get to their season win total. We always do this with all of our guests, ask over under. Before we do that, impact players from the draft. Everyone knows who Kamari Lassiter was. He was phenomenal on Georgia for many years as their cornerback. Beyond that, catch me up here with some of the impact players you think that we could see this year for the Texans. Kind of hard to project anybody for me outside of like a first or second round pick playing.
So Blake Fisher's going to be a name that gets brought up because of the offensive line. Last year, there were 8 different units that took the field at times. So knowing what we do about Titus Howard and Laremy Tunsil, both coming off of knee surgeries, there's a shot that he plays. Right now, he's working with the first team offense at left tackle, even though he was a right tackle his entire career at Notre Dame. minus the first game where he tore his ACL. And so now you're seeing that transition to move over to the left side. It's rocky at best, but maybe by the time that we get to week 8, week 9, he could have his feet underneath him. Kalen Bullock is a really rangy center fielder type defensive back. He gets a lot of plays on the football, whether that be a pass breakup or a turnover, but he is inconsistent when it comes to tackling. So that's going to be an area where you have to see him take that next step forward. Two players I'm really interested to see in the Hall of Fame game and how they work is Cade Stover, the tight end out of Ohio State. This was a player that J.Stroud wanted the Texans to target on day 3. He's a good blocker. He's a good overall red zone route runner. There's a connection there but from their time at Ohio State when he was a Heisman finalist. And Marcus Harris, the defensive lineman out of Auburn. Now with Danico Autry suspended for 6 games, somebody has got to step up at that 3-tech position. Harris was an all-SEC player last year on the Plains for a very underwhelming Tigers team. I will not be shocked to see him eventually start climbing up the pecking order if he has a good game. Also, Jawar Jordan, the running back out of Louisville, I expect him to have a role somewhere, whether that be on third down or special teams.
All right, Cole, before you go, season win total for the Houston Texans, 9.5 is the number. The juice is so high here at minus 150, so I'm not going to let you off the hook very easily here. So 9.5 is the total. If I gave you 10, what would you do? Tell me how many games you think Houston wins this season.
I'm going to take the over. I think that they will be at least a 10-win squad. I don't know if we'll see them get to 13 or 14. So, let's temper our expectations because you still got to play against Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and even Tua and a defense that really has improved, and the game's going to be at home. So you're going to have that hot atmosphere in Texas when you play against Tua, which we all know he's good at. But I still feel like that with the additions that you added in defensively, another year into DeMeco Ryans' system, plus what could be an MVP caliber season, the first that we've seen in a hot minute for a second-year quarterback, there's reasons to believe that the Texans not only will win the division, but they also will finish with at least a top 3 seed in the AFC.
Awesome stuff, Cole. Very thorough. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, Craig.